Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Before starting, subscribe and like the videos, it really helps. The content from this video are taken from the web novel and manga series of Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. Now please enjoy the video. Part 3. During the night, the 5 of us keep lookout in rotation. Garuban puts up a tent and sleeps there. Alone. All of the escorts are outside. Well, we are on sides of the employer and the employed after all. I guess it's only natural. I made the suggestion of creating a shelter and sleeping there, but it seems Barabedomu and the other sense for night attacks would be dulled, so it was rejected. It seems there's a proper reason for sleeping outside as well. If they're going to say something like that, then I find it difficult to sleep inside a shelter as well. However, Elinalise said it. There's no need to let it bother you, we have our own way of doing things. Trying to get some rest is the important part. She makes a good point with her words. I decided to sleep in the shelter as well, since I feel more rested that way after all. Well then, lookout is done in pairs of 2. I thought it would be fine alone, but it seems having 5 people doing it in pairs is safer. Fundamentally, the rotation changes based on the day. On the first day, the ones keeping lookout were Karumerita and I. Please take good care of me. Yeah, don't sleep. Of course. Even though it's called lookout, it's boring just silently doing nothing in a place with nothing. Which is why I started to chat with Karumerita about stories of the world at large. The other day, you saved us. No, that goes for both of us. You're strong, that woman as well, strong. Karumerita is a woman warrior. It seems in terms of age she's 20 years old this year. Karumerita the Bone Crusher. Following along with that name, it seems she prefers tactics that push with power using a broadsword that's over 1 meter long. The warriors around this area all seem to prefer and use broadswords. Barabedomu and Tonto as well have similar looking, massive and long swords hanging at their waist. It seems because there's many large monsters with hard outer shells, they must have developed using ones that won't simply break. No matter how much ability you have, with just a trifling matter, that seems to be the case after all. It seems like the style is an original as well. Your woman's sword is too thin. You can't defeat anything with that. That isn't the case, that's a magic item imbued with magic power after all. She even managed to tear things like griffins to pieces. Also, that person isn't my woman. It's not that sort of relationship. But, if a succubus comes, you'll embrace her, wrong? No, since I can use detoxification magic, when a succubus comes, men serve, embrace women, it's providence of this desert. Oh, Karumerita triumphantly told me about the ecology of the warriors in the desert and the relationship between female warriors and succubus on Begarito continent. There are succubus inhabiting Begarito continent. It seems succubus were originally a minority monster that inhabited the southwest region of Demon continent. But in the war 400 years ago, Laplace mass-produced them. In order to bring ruin to the warriors of Begarito that were continuing their intense opposition, it seems he sent them in. Succubus are absurdly strong against men. Those pheromones can lay any man bare. Honestly, if one of those suddenly appeared in front of my eyes or 2 appear at once, even I don't feel like I can win. Men who have been poisoned by the pheromones become the servants of the succubus. The primary objective of the servant is to become a meal for the succubus, but even for a succubus, taking back several tens of people to their nest seems to be impossible, so they just take several people and neglect the rest there. And then the remaining men left behind start killing each other on the spot. It seems after being poisoned by the pheromones, surrounding men start to look like enemies. Exactly. Abnormal status. Charmed, I'd say. In order to cure the charmed state, you either need to use detoxification greater than intermediate or else embrace a woman, otherwise it can't be cured. Back then, 400 years ago in Begarito continent, there were almost no people who could use detoxification magic. As a result of that, the vast majority of male warriors were driven to extinction by the hands of the succubi. If you have no partner you can embrace, then it can't be helped. It's a cruel world. At least in the end, even a succubus is fine. I can imagine some thoughts along those lines. I understand those feelings very well. 400 years after that, if you were to ask if the warriors of Begarito had been destroyed, that didn't become the case. As a countermeasure against the succubi, it became that the warriors would always bring along several women when they move around. Those women could be slaves or magic race prisoners, there were a variety of them it seems. However, for the warriors, those who can't fight were just a hindrance. They have no choice other than to protect them after all. They have low physical strength as well. The warriors thought about it. straining their lacking brains, and then they came up with it, that it would be fine if they just bring female warriors. It's certainly a logical way of thinking about it, even though I say that, just like this, the female warrior system of Begarito was created. In the current escorting parties, there's always at least one female warrior with them. Female warriors who fight during the times when the succubi come out, and after fighting they are embraced by the men. Depending on the situation, the more women you have the better as well. In that way, during the times when succubi appear, it's safer after all. On the Begarito continent, women are living things that fight. Karumerita as well as one among those female warriors. During the time when a succubus appears, she will become the partner for her male allies. Of course, if she keeps doing something like that, then she'll quickly get pregnant. However, for the female warriors that's an honor, and then it seems they return to their village while pregnant. After they give birth they leave the child to their village and then start marching around the continent as warriors again. It seems Karumerita has already given birth to one child as well. All of the children born are raised together in the village, without relation to who gave birth to the child or whose child they belong to. Among them it seems there are even children of different races mixed together, but there's no discrimination. Without exception, they receive training as warriors. Around the time when men are skilled and the women have their first menstruation, they perform the ceremony of adulthood and leave for the outside. And then they travel as warriors outside of the village. After their bodies start to decline around 30 years old, it seems they obtain the right to return to the village and devote themselves to raising the children. It seems there are those like Barabadomu who decide to never return to their village and live until they die as warriors as well. Naturally as it is, there's no such system as marriage. I'm sure there are no special feelings held towards any specific individual when they're embraced as well. I'm experiencing a bit of culture shock. In my previous world as well, I had heard stories of similar tribes. However, when they're actually in front of your eyes, how do I put it, it goes beyond just being erotic and gives off a moving impression. And while I was thinking that, you feel grateful towards, but hate magicians, if Succubus comes out, ask white woman. And I was turned down. No, well, since I can use detoxification I wouldn't be asking though. Part 4. Tonto the Big Blade is a silent man. Tonto has a large beard, he's a man of about 30 years old. Underneath his dark skin he has burly muscles built up. He's shorter than Barabadomu, but he has similar looks. If it weren't for the difference in how he wears his beard from Barabadomu, unexpectedly you might not be able to make the distinction between them. People of a different race are hard to make distinctions between. During the time we were keeping lookout I did talk to him a bit, but it seems he's fundamentally the type to not speak on his own. It's quite the contrast from Karumerita who talks without even being asked. It's fine since there's nothing in particular I really want to talk about though. However, I casually start conversation. Tonto the long sword is cool, isn't it? Baba-sama gave it to me. Oh, so it's not like you just naturally started to get called that. All of the names of warriors of the desert are given by Baba-sama. It seems that the village chief gives the warriors of the desert their second name at the time when they leave for their journey. One like Karumerita who has excellent physical strength, gets a name like Mighty Strength, or Bone Crusher. Those who have good eyes like Barabadomu get names like Hawk Eyes, or Eagle Eyes. It seems to be based on their state, in order to understand what their strong points are supposedly. Just because of that method of deciding, it seems they've suffered unexpectedly. Supposedly there are people who can do nothing but boast of their physical strength. Tonto is called Big Blade, but it's not like he emphasizes use of a huge sword. This is of the physical strength type as well. I'm sure without a doubt there's a name like Two Swords Unnecessary as well. I started to get naturally called that while I was fighting. Since I used nothing but quagmires to fight. A bog of mud, I've never seen it once yet. It has bad affinity with the monsters around here. If it's against opponents that crawl across the ground then the quagmire has a tremendous effect, but if it's like a griffin or succubus, which can fly through the sky, then the effect is reduced by half. For the insect-like ones which are slow but have hard outer shells as well, even if you can stop their legs doesn't mean it will go well. In the first place, recently it hasn't even been able to slow them down. Your magic is showy and amusing, I want to see your specialty as well. Quagmires are plain though. If there's opportunity I'll show you. After that, Tonto remained silent. It was like we talked about everything that was necessary. That's it guys, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want more and don't forget to like the videos.